You wake up. You cannot move. Something is in the room with you. You can feel it before you see it. A presence, a weight, a wrongness that presses down on your chest and makes breathing feel impossible. You try to scream. Nothing comes out. You try to move your arms, your legs, your fingers. Nothing responds. You are completely conscious, completely aware, and completely trapped inside a body that has stopped obeying you. This has happened to you or to someone you know. And it has been happening to human beings for as long as human beings have existed. What you just described is not a supernatural experience. It is not evidence of demons or ghosts or alien visitors, or any of the dozens of explanations that different cultures across human history have constructed to explain it. It is a neurological event with a precise biological mechanism that scientists now understand in extraordinary detail. But the reason those ancient explanations existed, the reason humans across thousands of years and every major culture on Earth independently invented almost identical monsters to explain this experience, is one of the most fascinating stories in all of neuroscience and anthropology. The real answer is far stranger than the demons. To understand sleep paralysis, you first need to understand what REM sleep is and what your brain does during it. That is, by any objective measure, genuinely extraordinary. REM stands for rapid eye movement. It is the stage of sleep during which most vivid dreaming occurs. During REM sleep, your brain is extraordinarily active, more active in some regions than it is during waking life. The visual cortex is firing. The emotional centers are firing. The motor cortex, the part of your brain that controls movement, is also firing. Your brain is generating a full, immersive, emotionally intense experience that feels, from the inside, indistinguishable from reality. And here is the critical piece: your brainstem knows this. Your brainstem, specifically a region called the pons, sends signals during REM sleep that temporarily paralyze your voluntary muscles. Every muscle except the ones controlling your eyes and your breathing is chemically switched off. This is called REM Atonia, the paralysis of the dream state. It exists for an extraordinarily sensible reason: to prevent you from acting out your dreams. Without REM Atonia, a person dreaming of running would run. A person dreaming of fighting would fight. A person dreaming of falling would thrash. The paralysis is a protective mechanism, one of the most elegant solutions in the entire architecture of sleep. While your brain tells stories, your body stays still. Sleep paralysis occurs when something goes wrong with the timing of this transition. Normally, as you move from REM sleep toward waking, the chemical paralysis lifts before or at the moment your consciousness returns. You wake up. You can move. Everything proceeds in the right order. But sometimes the sequencing breaks down. Your consciousness returns before the paralysis has lifted. You are awake, genuinely fully awake, but the chemical suppression of your voluntary muscles is still active. You are aware, but you cannot move. You are in the room, but your body is still locked in the dream state. This typically lasts between a few seconds and a few minutes, though it can feel much longer. And it is during this window that the hallucinations occur. Because here is what makes sleep paralysis genuinely terrifying from a neurological standpoint. When it happens, you are not simply awake in a paralyzed body. You are awake in a body that is still partially generating dream content. The dream machinery has not fully switched off. And the dream content that tends to emerge during sleep paralysis is remarkably consistent across people, across cultures, and across centuries. Almost universally, people report a presence. Something in the room. Something watching or moving toward them. And almost universally, this is accompanied by a sensation of pressure on the chest, a weight, a suffocation, an inability to breathe. In many cases, people report seeing a figure, a dark shape, a shadow person, something crouching at the foot of the bed or pressing down from above. The consistency of these hallucinations is not coincidence. It is neurology. The sense of a threatening presence is generated by the amygdala, the brain's threat detection system, which remains highly active during REM and continues firing during sleep paralysis. The pressure on the chest is not imaginary either. During REM sleep, the muscles of the chest wall are suppressed as part of atonia, which means breathing relies more heavily on the diaphragm alone, and this genuinely does create a sensation of restricted breathing, especially when lying on the back. The visual hallucinations, the shadows, the figures, are the visual cortex continuing to generate dream imagery while the person is simultaneously experiencing the room around them. You are not imagining a monster. Your brain is generating one, in real time, using the same machinery that creates every dream you have ever had. Now consider what a human being in the ancient world would make of this experience. You wake in the night. You cannot move. Something presses on your chest. You see a figure. You cannot scream. And then, after an agonizing minute or two, it is gone. You are free. You can move again. The room is empty. You have no knowledge of REM Atonia. You have no understanding of the brainstem or the pons or the amygdala. You have no framework for neurological misfires in the sleep-wake transition. What you do have is the most vivid, most viscerally terrifying experience of your life, with a presence that felt real, a weight that felt real, and a threat that felt absolutely certain. What would you conclude? What did they conclude? In medieval Europe, the experience was attributed to a creature called the Old Hag, a witch or demon that sat on the chest of sleeping people and stole their breath. The word nightmare itself derives from the Old English mare, a supernatural being that was believed to press on sleepers in the night. The root of the word that describes your bad dreams is a demon. In ancient China, the experience was called gueye, ghost pressing or ghost oppression, a spirit that climbed on top of sleeping people and pinned them down. In Japan, the experience is called kanashibari, to be bound in metal, named for the immobility. In Newfoundland, the creature was called the Old Hag. In West African and Caribbean traditions, the entity is called a succubus or a hag that rides sleepers through the night. In Turkish tradition, the entity is called a cin. In ancient Mesopotamia, the tablets describe demonic beings that attack sleepers in their beds. Every culture, every continent, every era, the same experience, the same monster, different names. The anthropologist David Hufford spent decades studying what he called the Old Hag tradition across cultures, and his conclusion was remarkable. The cross-cultural consistency of these accounts is so precise, the paralysis, the presence, the chest pressure, the terrifying figure, that it almost certainly reflects a shared biological experience being interpreted through different cultural frameworks. The monster was not cultural. The experience was biological. The culture simply provided the name. There is one more dimension to this that the science has only recently begun to explore. Sleep paralysis episodes are significantly more common in certain conditions. Sleep deprivation, disrupted sleep schedules, sleeping on your back, high stress, anxiety disorders, and certain medications. The people most likely to experience it are those with the most disrupted sleep, which historically would have included anyone under significant stress, in danger, or living in conditions of scarcity and uncertainty. In other words, the people most likely to be visited by the demon in any culture in any era were the people who were already suffering. Researcher Brian Sharpless at American University has estimated that roughly 8% of the general population experiences sleep paralysis at some point, with rates significantly higher, sometimes approaching 40%. In people with anxiety disorders, PTSD, and panic disorder, the experience is not rare. It is common. And for people who experience it repeatedly, it can generate genuine secondary anxiety. A fear of falling asleep, a dread of the night, a wakefulness that itself worsens the very sleep disruption that makes the paralysis more likely. The demon is a trap. And here is the strangest thing of all. Knowing what sleep paralysis actually is does not make the experience less terrifying. Researchers and sleep scientists who know the precise neuroscience of what is happening report that episodes are still profoundly frightening when they occur. The knowledge does not reach the part of the brain that is generating the fear. The amygdala does not respond to explanations. It responds to threats. And during sleep paralysis, it is certain, absolutely viscerally, neurologically certain, that a threat is present. Your ancestors named the monster because naming it was the only tool they had. And in that, they were doing something deeply human, trying to make sense of an experience that their nervous system told them was real, and that their reason could not explain. You know what it actually is now. And in the moment it happens, if it happens to you, your body will not care. The presence will be there. The weight will be there. The terror will be there. Because the monster was never outside the room. It was always inside the brain. And that, it turns out, makes it no less real.